what not to use on stitched leather. We have discussed before how to care after saddles, tack, things like that. Another thing to go with care, maintenance, even bridles, stuff that essentially involves leather, especially tack and stuff that we use with horses, because that ends up being a protective for us, because as long as we can control or stay on top of that horse, it tends to protect us, obviously. We talked about castor oil, a little bit of just a little leather oil to begin with, or something that will help care after that oil and keep it hydrated so it doesn't dry rot. Are there any things that you should not use on stitched leather, which is a little different because it's got more embroidery, things that might be more, I don't know, flamboyant, or potentially have some artwork involved with it while you're trying to preserve that, but also have a useful piece of equipment. So what are some of the things to not use on a specific stitched leather type of tack or piece of equipment?
Yeah, and when you're talking stitch, what I think of is more of a cotton thread, heavy cotton
Mm-hmm.
thread, instead of uh like a lacing or anything like that. And
Right.
as far as your uh the decorative portion of it, that's usually just stamped, and carved.
Usually.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and nothing really affects it that much, except it can be made more porous. There's not really the protective covering of the natural skin there, even though it's not got skin or hair on it. The hide itself has a little bit of a protective barrier, but there's one product in particular that is very good for leather. That's called neat's foot oil, 100% pure neat's foot oil. There's also a neat's foot oil compound. And that compound, you want to be very careful. You don't want to put that on something with stitching, because it will chew the stitching up. It'll eat it up. It'll rot it. And so you think of, oh, geez, the good old neat's foot oil, but this product is better because it's newer. Not necessarily the case. And I think part of that, a good rule of thumb, is anything that's got like distillates in it, some kind of a petroleum product that is um, got a high, like a alcohol type of base, or a distillate base, that can be kind of over dry things and cause some rot. So pure old good old neat's foot oil, and there's some good products out there that I don't even know about, to be honest with you, that you hear about and people swear by it, and guys that are in the business that know about it use it. Good old saddle soap is a good one. Saddle butter is a decent thing for overall leather conditioning, things like that. So anything that'll keep it, those pores open and breathing. That's why it's important to clean things and then rehydrate them. This part of the country is kind of tough on dry weather. The wintertime dries everything out. And so you want to make sure it's conditioned. And we've got so much stuff that it's tough to do that. And I may need you when you come home after the Army. We may have a party.
Cool.
So yeah, but and I think in some of our southern states, or the more humid states, then they look for the opposite. It's rotted from too much moisture. So
Yeah.
you just got to pay attention to where you're at, what your environment is like, and try to treat your leather accordingly, and for what works best without doing damage.
With a minute left, is there anything specifically people should look at when they're trying to preserve or protect the cotton thread itself that you were talking about?
Well, I mean, as a preventative, I think just making sure that it has got not overly dried out, that it does have some kind of the oil on it, that'll help preserve it, because a lot of that stuff has got like a waxy substance, almost like beeswax.
Mm,
My grandma used to do things with thread, and she'd run it through beeswax when she's sewn by hand, because it really strengthened that thread, and by not having it too dry, so it kind of added a layer of protection in there. And I think something similar like that would probably be uh, fairly prudent to use.
well, that is those that those are some tips for what not to use on stitched leather.